Hey, hello everybody. Today we're going to do a recap of the first class that we did when we started this course on weight loss. It's a little mini course that will be inside of your back office, and there will be an entire section set aside just for weight loss. So last time that we met, we talked a little bit about your relationship with food. I want to do a recap on that and see where you guys are and see if you're implementing some of the strategies that I gave you. And then we're also going to take some time in this class to introduce the next phase of weight release. So if you guys are just now jumping on, please say hi, drop something into the chat box, let me know that you're here so we can interact and engage with you. Anyway, all right, let's talk a little bit about the recap then from last class, and that had to do with your relationship with food. So I gave you guys a handout. Did anybody on here, did you guys print out the handout? I'm going to grab mine. Did you print it out and did you go through some of the exercises so that you could start to develop a greater awareness of what you're doing with food and why you're doing that? Just let me know how that's working for you guys. These handouts are really great tools to help you to start digging up a lot of the beliefs, the mental scripts, the mind chatter, the maybe the attitudes that you have about food. And one of my favorite exercises in there was the exercise on intuitive eating. So maybe we could talk a little bit about that this morning. The first part of that handout had to do with food rules. What are your rules around food? What rules did you grow up with when you were younger? So when you sat around the dinner table, was it a rule that you could only eat dessert last? Or was there like a lot of flexibility and freedom about food? Could you eat a bite of dessert first if you wanted to? I remember one of the rules that I grew up with in my household was don't eat that candy or don't eat anything before dinner because you'll spoil your supper. That was what I heard all the time growing up. You're going to spoil your supper. Don't eat before dinner. Hey, Joan, I'm glad that you jumped on here. The rest of you guys who are just now getting onto the class, type something into the chat box. Let me know that you're here. Let's go ahead and engage. I want to know whether or not you guys are using some of these homework assignments, whether or not you printed out the handouts from last week, and if you're getting some benefit from them. So I just want to review what those assignments were. If you'll notice, if you printed out the handout from last week that had to do with your relationship with your body, your relationship with food, you'll notice that there was a lot of journaling. So lots of opportunities. Hi, Kim. How are you? Glad you joined us. There's only 2 of you on here today, so that's okay. We're just going to have an awesome conversation. I'm going to lead you guys right into the next phase. We will do the recap on your relationship with food, but then we're also going to go right into your relationship with your physical body, because all of these things play a part. Now, there will be 4 segments of this actual mini course for weight release. The first segment is your relationship with food. The second segment is your relationship with your physical body. The third is your relationship with yourself, which is different than your relationship with your body. I'm talking about your inner self. And then the fourth and the last component has to do with your relationships with other people. So sometimes your relationships with other people, whether or not you felt safe or neglected or abandoned or maybe abused in some way from important relationships to you. Maybe you looked up to someone and they took advantage of you. Maybe you had somebody in like high positions of leadership and trust, and they did something that they shouldn't have. So we're going to start looking at those kinds of relationships in that phase as well. Now, we'll probably take anywhere from a week to 2 weeks per segment. And so today, I just want to recap on food rules. What were some of the food rules that came up for you guys? Did either of you ladies have ideas that came to mind as far as what were the rules associated with food, what you can eat, what you can't eat? Was there a lot of guilt and shame around food? Did you hide foods? I know that, growing up when we were little kids, we used to kind of, whenever you'd get something special, maybe a special treat or something, I know that for me there was this specific dessert that my mother used to make. And if I was home alone, it was a dessert that had to be frozen, and so she would make the dessert, we'd have some for dinner, and then she'd put it back into the freezer. And if I was home alone and I knew that was in the freezer, I could not go to the freezer. It was almost like this zombie reaction. I had to take a knife and a fork and cut me out several pieces. And I remember one time I ate darn near almost the whole rest of that dessert that was sitting in our freezer. And part of it for me, the belief that came up for me around the food was, desserts didn't happen very often. They were very special, and this particular dessert didn't happen very often. And so I thought, I have to hoard it. I have to get as much into me as I possibly can, and then hide it because I don't want to get in trouble hoarding and hiding, because I don't know when I'm going to have it again. So there's that mentality of scarcity and lack coming up. And a lot of these beliefs that come to the surface, like beliefs such as scarcity and lack, when they come to the surface, you'll notice that they're also these feelings and emotions and beliefs that are tied to food are also tied to abundance and resources and money. And so, you may have the same patterns with food that you also do with money. So you can kind of watch that because they're closely connected. Abundance and food are usually very intertwined. So you can probably look into your financial life and see some of the same unhealthy patterns or beliefs and rules, right? You guys have any that you want to share with me, any of your food rules before we go on to the next segment? If not, that's okay. So the goal then, as you journal about some of these rules that you grew up with around food or even money, because they're very closely connected, then what you're going to want to do after you journal that stuff is look at the feelings and the emotions that come up about that stuff, even the beliefs. So once you have identified the belief, look for where do you feel the physical sensation of that inside of your body. Once you've identified, oh yeah, there's a belief there, that's a really strong belief, there's this feeling of lack, I don't know when I'm going to have it again, and that makes me feel afraid. I'm going to look for where that fear is coming up in my body. And for me, it's coming up currently, which means I've got some inner work to do. I'm feeling this feeling of stress right here in the heart. And so the belief for me is the fear of not having enough or not having it again. So maybe I will attract abundance or desserts, special things into my life. And maybe the belief is special things only happen once in a while. Right? They can't happen every day. Maybe that's the belief. And so if I maintain that unhealthy belief, then I'm probably not going to attract much abundance into my life, because the belief is it can only come every once in a while. It can't be an ongoing, I can't have this dessert again tomorrow, right? A lot of people have this problem, let's say you go to Thanksgiving dinner and you way overeat, you way overstretch the boundaries of what your belly can handle. And why do we do that? Because we think Thanksgiving only happens once a year, and I'm only ever going to have mashed potatoes and turkey one time in the year, and so therefore I have to stock up, right? So there's that fear of lack. It's the fear of scarcity. There's not enough. There's never going to be enough. I'm only going to get this once this year, so I might as well hoard it. Well, that's not even true. That belief isn't true, because can you make turkey and mashed potatoes tomorrow? Yeah, you can. So just have enough to fill up the body until the signals of hunger go away. So I want to tell you guys the main gist, the main focus of this entire weight release process or program that I want to teach you has to do with, number one, we're creating awareness. Why are you eating that? What are you eating? And why are you doing that? Are you doing it because there's true hunger going on and you're trying to fuel your physical body? Are you doing it because the taste is so amazing and you don't know if you're ever going to have it again, so you have to just binge on it? Are you doing it because there's a fear of lack and that I'm only going to have this once a year, so you kind of have to look at, or are you doing it because you're trying to swallow back your emotions and numb pain? Maybe emotional pain, maybe even physical pain. I don't know. Maybe there's some discomfort going on in your life and you know that this particular food makes you feel good and you just want to get out of pain and into feeling good again. If you do that, you're trying to satisfy something, right? And food will never, ever, ever satisfy emotion. That's why people end up overeating, because they're turning to food to satisfy an empty feeling. There's a feeling I'm looking for. I want to feel good. And so when we turn to food to feel good, we need more and more and more and more of it. And then before you know it, you've way overeaten. So you've gone into this high. There's a lot of dopamine going on. You do feel pretty good while you're eating it because the taste is amazing. And then after you eat it, you feel like, oh, I've done my body a disservice. Now I don't feel good. And then you crash and you go into feelings of guilt and shame and regret. And those are really low feelings. So then it creates this vicious cycle, right? I have this guilt and shame and regret. Now I'm going to numb those feelings because that doesn't feel good. So I'm going to turn to food again. It's just this constant vicious cycle. And we're using food to either numb feelings or to turn on good feelings. And that's a dangerous pattern to get into. So number one, what we're doing is we're helping you to create awareness. What are you eating? Why are you doing that? What is the purpose of this? So I want to ask you to start asking these questions to yourself every time you do any kind of hand-to-mouth activity. I want you to think about, what is the purpose for me eating this or drinking this? Maybe it's a bottle of Sprite, whatever it is. Maybe, there's some of you I know in the group turn to alcohol, or you turn to addictive substances, maybe a bottle of pills to calm you, or maybe I know some of you deal with smoking and addictive things. So foods can be highly addictive as well. Us food addicts are no better than any other addict, because we're turning to that food to either numb pain or fill a void. And if you're looking for the food to make you feel better, you're going to need a lot of it, because the food can't do that for you. It can give you a slight little jolt of dopamine, and then that's over. So number one, we're creating awareness. Number two, I want you to get into the pattern and into the habit of talking yourself through, what are you eating and why are you eating that? What is the purpose of this food? Am I satisfying true hunger? Or am I feeling an emotion right now? Like maybe it's a fear. It's a fear of lack. It's a fear of whatever. Or maybe you're just trying to desensitize yourself because you don't feel good about something. Maybe you got into an argument and you don't want to feel the pain of that, attack on your personal self. So why am I eating it? Another good question to ask is, let's say, like for me, the food that I turn to for comfort, usually they're things like mashed potatoes and gravy, and because that reminds me of home, it reminds me of family, it reminds me of Thanksgiving, it reminds me of, better times in life, and so I'm looking for comfort. And so if you cannot stop eating those foods, I know I have a couple of foods where, like, the mental script that goes on in my mind is, oh my gosh, this is so tasty, I just can't get enough. I've actually said those words before. I just can't get enough of this. And so that's an opportunity to kind of write down those words and go, why do I say that? Why do I think it? Why do I believe it? I mean, is it true that I can't ever get enough of it? Probably, because the food is not going to satisfy the emotion that you're looking for. So maybe there is a void. So for me, I'm just thinking through this on my own, in my own world. So for me, one of the foods, I think I told you guys this last time, was mashed potatoes with this hamburger gravy stroganoff that goes on top. It reminded me of home and family and just, really good times growing up. It just reminded me of growing up on the farm and living this enchanted life. And so if there's something unstable going on in my own home, or in my family life, then I have a tendency to turn towards those comfort foods because I want to feel that original feeling of home and family and when I was growing up. That safety, security, love, right? So there are some foods that I grew up with that I have way attached myself to, and that's why, if I'm in a place where I'm not comfortable or things are upsetting to me in my family life now, I find that I have a tendency to turn to those foods. So I have to be careful, and I have to ask myself, is it true that I can't get enough of this? Can I have some more tomorrow? Could I have 2 bites now and then maybe save the rest for later? Yes. And if you talk yourself through it, you'll find, okay. I'm just feeling XYZ. And whatever the feeling is that comes up for you, that's what you're going to clear on. You may have to journal it a little bit until you really get to the root of whatever the belief is, the attitude, the value, the the emotion associated with it. And then once you've got that emotion and you've found the sensation in your body, you can clear and release it, and problems should be solved, right? Number 3. So the first one was awareness. The second one was walking yourself through the conversation of what is the purpose of this food. Number 3 was reevaluate your reasons for what you choose to eat. Like, what is the reason that I'm having this cheesecake right now, and why can't I stop, right? And then number 4, look at maybe addictions or mental patterns that seem to be replaying themselves over and over. Most people who have addictions, especially to foods or pills or substances, they're looking for comfort and peace. They're trying to satisfy this agitated, upsetting, anxious feeling in the body, and so you're looking to calm that feeling, and it's a legitimate thing, especially if there's chemicals involved with either prescription medications or smoking, drinking, overeating, whatever the addiction is. You're looking to satisfy a feeling, and usually that feeling is comfort and peace. I'm just trying to bring the body back down to a place where I feel like I'm okay. All right, so your homework then, you guys, excuse me, your homework is to go back through the handouts from last week's class. Look at food rules, look at patterns that come up for you, do some journaling about that. Look at what some of the emotions, the beliefs, the attitudes, the values are that come up. Let me reiterate some of the homework from that first handout for you guys. Homework there was pay closer attention to your food, each specific food that you eat. We're trying to create awareness here. We're trying to help you to discover why are you eating that and what's the purpose in it. Notice how you feel before you eat it, and then write down on a piece of paper, jot down, or in your journal, how do I feel now 20 minutes after you've eaten it? Did I overeat? Did I have way too much? Am I trying to numb something? So just kind of jotting that stuff down so you're noticing. And then start looking for patterns that you see. Hi, Gail. Glad that you jumped on. We're just continuing to recap last week's assignment. I hope you guys took the time to print out the homework assignment for the part of the course that has to do with your relationship with food, so that we can move on into the next phase, which is your relationship with your body. And in about 5 minutes, I'm going to start talking about this new topic, your relationship with your body. Go ahead and keep doing the homework assignments from this handout in relationship to your food. Find out, what are certain foods giving you? What is the feeling? What is the purpose? Why are you doing that? And why can't you stop? Okay, so let's start looking at what what is at the core. What are the seeds there that you've planted? Intuitive eating. I love this exercise. Eating mindfully can be a really powerful experience if you're willing to do it. And it can be a tool for awakening. So eating intuitively is, well, let me just read what the homework assignment was for you guys, and we can talk a little bit more about it. And then again, as you guys have experiences with this, please engage with me and let me know what's going on for you. What are some of the patterns that you notice? Eating mindfully can be such a powerful awakening tool, especially as you develop a new relationship with your food. It's all about paying attention. It's about listening to your body. It's about listening to your intuition, and then making new agreements with your food and also with your body. If you eat what your body is asking for and the quantities that it needs, you'll start learning how to fearlessly listen to your body, and you'll start journaling questions that come up that you could ask your body, such as, why do I need more? Why am I afraid that I'm not going to ever have this again? Why am I afraid that there's not ever enough? Right? And then you just kind of follow that down the rabbit hole. Is it because I want more out of life? Is it because there's this mentality of lack and fear associated with abundance and food? Food is so closely associated with the feelings of security, safety, nurturing, comfort, and peace, because from the time that we're little babies, that's how our needs are met, through the mouth, right? And when a baby is nursing from its mother, it feels warm and safe and comforted and comfortable and happy. Now, if a baby missed out on the opportunity to be nursed by its mother, and maybe it was bottle fed and propped, maybe that child might have issues with safety and security and comfort and peace later on down the road. So it doesn't necessarily mean that has to be your mental script for the rest of your life. It just means there's something there to look at, to feel, clear, and then release. Another exercise I thought was really good was, before you put any food into your mouth, pay close attention to it. So sit with it, examine it, hold it, look at it, study it. Just become one with that food. Really be present with the food. And if it's something that you know is not necessarily good for you, like a piece of cheesecake, or for some of you guys, maybe a glass of wine, whatever it is, just be with it, be present with it, be with that food, and then take a little taste, experience the flavor, really just kind of savor it, instead of just mindlessly chomping and swallowing and chomping hand to mouth, hand to mouth, hand to mouth, without really paying attention to what you're doing. Slow the process down and become very mindful and very present about your food and how much you're taking in. It will really help you. It will really help you to identify those signals of true hunger and when you are gently satisfied. So the whole goal here, you guys, with your relationship to food, is to learn to listen to what true hunger is in your body, instead of just cravings, instead of, I just need another fix, instead of just, I gave you some really good handouts on identifying what true hunger really is. Go watch the video, read through some of those handouts, and get familiar with what true hunger is for you. When true hunger shows itself to you, if you want to lose weight, you can ask the body specifically, please, I know that you're hungry. Please go to the reserves in the body, what you have stored there, the reserves of fuel, which is fat. Please go there and consume the fat first, and then I'll feed you. I promise that I'll feed you. You're building a relationship of trust with the body. I promise, body, I will feed you, but please go to the reserves first and consume some of that, and then I will feed you. And so oftentimes you'll notice that the feelings of true hunger will go away, or they'll dip down because your body is actually turning to the reserves. It's going to release some of that fat up to the body to use as fuel. And then hunger, true hunger signals will come back again a little bit later. And then that's when you got to follow through so that the body knows it can trust you. Because if the body thinks you're going to starve it, then it's going to hold on to the weight because it's like, no, I've got to save some of this fuel for later because I don't know when I'm going to get more fuel again. So we have to be careful with that, but you've got to start building a relationship of trust with the body. So letting the body know, I am going to feed you. I will feed you when you're hungry, when you show me true signs of hunger. But for right now, will you please dip down into the reserves of fat and release that first? And then I will properly feed you until you're gently satisfied. Okay, so that takes a pretty high level of awareness, but you can get there. It takes a high level of awareness. I know a lot of people who have released massive amounts of weight from their body by doing this exercise and becoming much more present and much more aware of what they're eating, why they're eating it, and having a better relationship with their physical body. Let's see. There were other exercises in there on tasting your food, clearing and releasing emotions that come up in regards to foods. Also, what foods do you ignore? So do you have a pantry full of nuts and seeds and grains and whole foods and maybe even raw organic vegetables and fruits? Do you have a household full of these healthy foods, whole foods that you know your body could really benefit from, but do you ignore those foods and just go to the snacky items first in order to satisfy hunger or satisfy some kind of emotion that's coming up? I know one time I got to the first part of when I was in the store. I was being very mindful about what I was buying and what I was not buying and what I was putting into my cart. I wanted to eat better, and so I started putting all these healthy things into my shopping cart, and I brought them home, put them into my refrigerator, and just forgot about them and just started cooking, you know, the way that I normally was used to cooking, using foods that weren't necessarily that great or that healthy or full of nutrition, and eating snacky foods, and just completely ignored all of the whole foods that were in my refrigerator. So something to think about. So let's jump in. Let's jump into your relationship with your physical body then. Again, those of you who are in this group, this is all about developing a deeper awareness. You're in our relationship with our body. I want you to think of it more like on the terms of developing a new relationship with your best friend. If your best friend knows that you hate them, you loathe them, there's things about them that you're constantly judging, then that friend is probably not going to feel comfortable around you, and there's not going to be a very close connection, right? Because they feel judged, and they feel the energy of hate is pretty strong. People can feel that. So we've got to start developing this close relationship of trust with the body, and that takes a level of vulnerability. You have to be able to be vulnerable in order to connect. When I talk about vulnerability, it means being willing to look at what have you done to the body, and what do you feel your body has done to you. Has your body abandoned you? Has it neglected? Has it let you down? Has it not been responsive when you needed it to? Have you had trauma with the body? So maybe you have had a long-term illness, a weakened immune system. Maybe you had a hard time carrying pregnancies if you're a woman. Maybe you lost a baby and you felt abandoned or let down by your body. So we have to start looking at what some of the emotional patterns and issues are in your relationship with the body. Do you have a good relationship with your body? Is your body your best friend? Are you appreciative and grateful when the body brings up feelings and emotions and lets you know, hey, this is what this is about. I'm just showing it to you. Do you say, thank you for showing me that? Or do you say, stupid legs, stupid sciatica pain? Are you constantly putting your body down and projecting anger onto the body because of the way that you feel it's letting you down? So one of the first exercises, you guys, if you notice inside of this Facebook group, if you go over to the Files tab, I just posted this morning a new handout on your relationship with your physical body. The top page looks like this. I know that's backwards, but that's what it looks like. These are the worksheets. These are the assignments that you're going to take yourself through. And one of the first exercises in that handout has to do with you becoming very vulnerable to the relationship that you have with your body. And this may seem awkward to you and a little bit odd, but this is a very healing experience, especially for women, because we have body image issues. So what I want you to do is stand naked in front of a mirror. I want you to just stand, and if you're not comfortable with that, I don't care. Stand partially clothed then. But I want you to just stand in front of the mirror, overlook your body, and look at what you think are the body's flaws and faults and failings. What does that bring up for you when you do that exercise and you stand in front of the mirror? Are you tempted to judge your body? Are you tempted to feel bad that you're carrying excess weight around maybe the waist or the hips or the legs or the thighs? Maybe you have an extended belly. Whatever it is for you, do you feel badly about that? Are you judging your body? Do you, in other words, when you look into the mirror at yourself, do you immediately go to that area that you don't like about yourself and focus on what you don't like? And do you have feelings of loathing or self-disapproval or a lack of self-worth? Or what are the emotions and feelings coming up for you when you look at yourself, when you look at your body? So it's going to take a little bit of vulnerability to do this exercise, but what comes up for you will most likely be really powerful. So I recommend that you do it with a journal close by and just start journaling. What is my relationship with my body? If my body really was like a trusted friend, how have I been treating my trusted friend, my companion? And how do I feel that my companion has been treating me? Do I feel like I've been let down, abused, neglected, abandoned? A lot of women who have been through traumatic physical experiences, maybe sexual trauma or any kind of abuse or neglect or abandonment or guilt and shame growing up. Lots of women really do have that guilt and shame is projected onto their physical bodies. So they will have a lot of self-loathing when they stand and look in the mirror. Here's an interesting example. I think I've shared with you guys before my experience of when I was at my sickest, I started working out and my adrenal glands failed. I had total adrenal failure and I popped out of my body. I went unconscious, collapsed, stopped breathing. These women were trying to revive me and couldn't get a pulse, couldn't get any kind of signs of life. And I actually did pop out of the body for a moment and I noticed something interesting. I thought to myself, wait, I thought that body over there lying lifeless on the ground was me. I thought that was me. Like I had been creating an identity for myself for all these years that revolved around this physical body. And now, so what's this? What is this that's going on? Because the body's clearly shut down. the mind chatter is off. All that stuff was turned off. And like, what is this that's going on? This awareness that's just standing here. And I learned a lot about my inner self and my true presence, like standing in the presence of my own presence and really just being a witness to who I really am. That was a powerful experience. After I had that out-of-body near-death experience, it took me several months to recover from that. It was like a really physically draining thing to have happen. But after I started the recovery process from that, and I had hired a health coach to help me with it, I remember I went to a Mary Kay party. And there were all these women sitting around this giant table, and they're looking into their little mirrors, and everybody, I'm not kidding, every woman in that room, there were probably about 10 women, was pointing out all the things they hated about their face and about their body. I have too many wrinkles, my nose is too big, my skin has too many pores, I have acne scars, whatever it was. And then some people started going, well, my hips are too big, or my legs are too fat, whatever. And it was a real surreal moment. It was like, you know how sometimes time just slows way down and you go inside yourself and you start seeing things from a different perspective in that slow energy? That's where I went. And I was looking into my mirror, and the thoughts coming into my head were, I am so grateful for this body. I am so grateful that I have a body right now, because I almost didn't. And it changed a lot of things for me, having that awareness of the fact that I am not just my physical body. That's a part of me. It comes along with me, but it is not the sole source of my identity. And that was a really interesting discovery to make. So the next item on your body image homework assignment is, do you love your body? Or are there things about your body that you absolutely hate? I've been coaching with a woman who she's actually in very, very good shape. She works out every day. She has a very good relationship with food. She's careful about what she eats. She's very mindful about eating healthy. And she knows a lot about diet and exercise and nutrition, and has done so many different programs to try to release weight from her body. And just around the hips and the legs and the thighs, her body will not release. And so when I first started coaching with her, I asked her, well, what is your relationship with your body? And she's like, I hate my body. I hate my body. My body has constantly let me down. It doesn't respond to me when I eat better, when I exercise, and yet everybody else around me doesn't seem to be having a problem. They can drop 10 pounds like that, and yet I can't lose a dang dime. Right? So if you hate your body and there's this feeling of self-loathing projected onto the body is not going to trust you enough to release that weight. It's going to hold on to the weight as a protection for all of the bitterness and the anger and the resentment and the self-loathing that you are projecting inward at it. So sometimes we'll hold on to fat cells because those fat cells are protecting us from self-abuse. Okay? Patterns. We can even talk about patterns with the physical body. So getting out your journal and start listing some of the patterns that you notice with your body that you've never noticed before, such as, why do I overeat? Why do I feel the need to put on this extra weight around my hips, my waist, my thighs? Why do I eat too fast? Why do I just, chomp and swallow? Why am I doing that? Why do I get hungry at night? Sometimes, some people, food makes them sick in the morning. They can't do food in the morning. So journal about what you think is coming up for you on the level of body image and how that relates to the way that you eat, the way that you feed the body and nourish the body. Is there emotional stuff there that you need to look at so that you can clear and release it? I want to leave time here so that we can do some clearing and releasing, so that we can help you guys to start releasing the weight from the body. Again, in learning how your body is communicating with you, I would recommend, I don't have my handouts with me, but I would recommend that you go to the chakra system, the chakra chart that was provided for you in the home study course. Some of you guys have actually ordered that chart. So start looking at that chart and notice, where do I hold on to weight the most in my body? Is it in the upper body, around the heart? That's kind of where it is for me, is heart and belly. So broken heart and feeling a little bit powerless in some areas of my life. So, or maybe my personal power was stepped on. So you can look at that. You can look at the different regions of where you do hold on to weight, and maybe what's deeper on that level of the qualities and functions of those different chakras. If you hold on to weight in the gut, it's probably about personal power and social identity, how you present yourself to the world, what your boundaries are, whether or not your boundaries have been crossed inappropriately, and whether or not you feel the need to protect those boundaries. So you hold on to weight as a means of protecting yourself. If it shows up in the lower chakras, like the sacral area, that's the sexual chakra. So maybe look at, did you grow up feeling guilt and shame about your body? Like, in some even religious cultures, we don't teach this very effectively. We don't teach sexuality very effectively. In fact, the pendulum maybe swings a little bit too far to the wrong side, so that when we're growing up, the message is your body is bad because you have these feelings of sexuality. Your body is bad and it's dirty and it's filthy. And so then you grow up having these feelings of, oh, the body is bad. And that's not true. The body in and of itself is not bad. The body is divine. And we have these feelings and sensations and emotions for a divine reason. There's learning. It's a learning tool. The body is a learning device. And the body is here to help educate you as well. There are things that you are learning within this physical construct of the body that you could never learn outside of the body. So we have to learn to cherish and appreciate the body for what it is, and not say that certain biological functions are bad, because they're not bad. They're divine. All the functions of the body were divinely given for a divine purpose. So we need to sort of maybe change the way that we're looking at that stuff. Okay, cycles and patterns. I actually recommend that you guys do the homework assignments. I just posted it this morning, like about 20 minutes before our class, so you can now go into the files tab of this section and print that off. If you want to take this deeper, learning about your relationship with your physical body, you could journal about some. I gave you guys, on the second to the last page, I gave you guys a whole list of maybe potential topics that you could start journaling about to see what's there. What are the emotions, the beliefs, the values, the attitudes that really need to be released, so that you can release why you're holding on to that excess weight around the body. Some of those have to do with how you see yourself when you look in the mirror, how you see your body, how do you think other people see you. The way that you think other people are judging you, it comes through the portal of how you judge yourself, or it comes through the filter, right? You've got these overlays and filters that you've put over yourself, and you think that people are judging you that way, and it's really the way that you are judging yourself. How do you protect yourself from being vulnerable? Why do you need to protect yourself? What walls do you put up so that no one can get in? Are there people in your life that are crossing boundaries with you, or like maybe pushing their will onto you, their desires, their needs onto you, and then you don't stand in your own sovereignty Like you don't stand up for yourself. You don't do the things for yourself that you know that you should be doing because they're the ones that are running the show, right? And you feel all this guilt. Are you afraid to stand in the mirror and look in the mirror? Are you afraid to stand on the scale? What guilt and shame comes up for you after you eat or when you look at your physical body? So let's look at what some of the guilt and shame, where did that come from? And let's clear and release. Keep clearing and releasing. One of my favorite exercises that I usually have my coaching clients do when I coach one-on-one with you guys is writing a letter to your body. And this is the last exercise. Well, it's one of the last exercises in the handouts, is a letter to the body. So what you're going to do is you're going to get out your journal, write a big, long, healthy letter. You can apologize to the way that you've treated your body, the way that you've seen your body. You can, and again, we're trying to develop that relationship of trust, this sacred bond of trust with your body, as if the body was going to become your truest, most close companion, because it is, it should be. So you're going to write your letter to the body. There's no rules about that letter. Whatever wants to come up, let it come up. In what ways has your body let you down? How have you let the body down? Do apologies need to be made? And just have a conversation, the conversation that you feel you need to have with the body. It can be long or short, whatever it is. There's no rules about it. And then what you're going to do after that is take 15 or 20 minutes and have the body write a letter back to you. So you're going to put a pen to paper and you're going to express what you think the body would say back to you as some kind of a response. Okay, this is a really healing, powerful exercise to do. It will change the way that it'll change the way that you interact with this physical body. It should be your closest companion and your truest friend. And you'll notice that the more you develop that relationship, that sacred bond of trust with your physical body, it won't need to protect itself against your emotions, and it won't need to harbor shame and guilt. And it won't need to hold on to these things. It will actually freely and intuitively just release the weight. And it'll be pretty effortless as you go through this process. There's also an exercise on forgiveness and changing pattern loops for yourself. So learning how to identify what the body language is, what is your body image, how do you feel about the body, and I encourage you guys to go print the handouts, do the journaling, and then go right into clearing and releasing what comes up for you. So we've got 10 minutes left inside of this class. I want to do a clearing and releasing exercise. So what I want for you guys to do right now is think of one thing that came up for you as we've been talking about body image, or maybe even your relationship with food, okay? Just pick one thing that possibly bubbled up to the surface for you, and let's put your awareness inside of your body. Put yourself into your body. And breathe and soften. Good job. Good. Put your awareness all the way down, like if you could follow that midline all the way down to the base of the spine. Take your attention there. Get into your body and breathe. You'll notice that when you take your attention into the body, you hold your breath and you stop breathing. So go ahead and breathe. If you have to put an imaginary nose at the base of the spine and breathe in through that, it will help you to keep the attention at the base of the spine or lower. Good. Get into your body and breathe and soften. Now I'm going to have you call in your higher self or your inner self into the body, and I just want you to say out loud, I put myself in my body now. I put myself in my body now. I put myself in my body now. Say it about 3 times until you feel like your attention is really going inside. It's dropping down to the base of the spine. There we go. And then lastly, what I want you to do is just notice or look for that feeling of expansion. And so from the base of the spine, good job, you guys. I'm starting to feel the effects that you're doing it. From the base of the spine, I want you to say, I expand out now. So almost as if you stepped into the center of the sun and the sunlight stepped into the center of you, and it just, like a little mini slow-moving explosion, expanding out. All the particles are pushing away. And as you breathe, push away. Holding your attention at the base of the spine, pushing up. And then pushing down. And then also pushing to the sides. Good. Expanding out in every direction. So I put myself in my body now. I expand out now. Now, I'm going to have you, let's go ahead and get grounded. So one of the best ways to get grounded is you can just pretend that you're pushing the energy from up above you down into the earth, down through your legs and through your feet, and use the breath to help you get there. So you're going to say out loud, I am grounded now. And I want you to think of, when you think of grounding, I want you to think of like you're a tree, becoming a tree that's growing these giant roots deep down into the earth, right down to the core, to the center of the earth. And you're growing these roots and you're just anchored in and feeling really stable and secure on this planet. So when you breathe in, our hands go up. When you breathe out, push those roots down into the earth through your legs and through the centers of the feet and into the earth, through the floor. Again, breathe in. Breathe out. Push that awareness down through the floor. Breathe in. Breathe out. Good. Last time I want you to say, I am grounded now. Okay. One thing that you can do also to call your higher self back down into the body is you can close your eyes and just picture yourself as if your higher inner self is hovering above you. You grab yourself by the ankles and pull down as you breathe out, and pull down and pull down and pull down, breathing and pulling yourself down deep into your body, all the way down into the feet and under the feet and through the floor. It's a really great way to help you get into your body. Okay. Now, the other thing that I like to do when I take my awareness and I get into the body and then I ground and I center is something called fundamental ray. So when every one of us is born into the physical body, we come into this dimension on our own unique divine wavelength or pattern of frequency, right? You come in on your own fundamental ray of light. That's how I like to think of it, right? It's one of the reasons why, you know, when people have near-death experiences and they describe, I went through this tunnel of light, I was following this light. That's your fundamental ray. It literally is a frequency that you're dialed into. It's a ray or a beam of light, and you're traveling through it. And that's how you get from one dimension into the other dimension. That's how you get into the physical dimension from the spirit dimension, and from the physical dimension or from spirit into physical. You're going on that fundamental ray. So oftentimes what happens to us is we get yanked out of that fundamental energy that is us, like the essence of who we are. We forget who we are. We forget where we came from. We forget all of those truths of the essence that lives inside of us, like the essence of who you are. And so that's your fundamental ray. It's your energy. It's your essence. And so I want you to just say out loud, I put myself on my fundamental ray now. And get into that synchronicity with who you really are. I put myself on my fundamental ray now. And notice as you take your awareness and go inside the body, you're grounded, you're centered, you're more stable. Good. Now we have 5 minutes because I have a client coming in 5 minutes. We got 5 minutes. Let's clear and release. What came up for you guys as we talked about your relationship with food, patterns, programming, ideas, beliefs, attitudes, or what came up with you for you as we talked about your physical body and your relationship with your physical body? Whoa, okay, there we go. Somebody's got stuff coming up in the upper belly. Okay, interesting. Upper belly has to do with feeling powerless. We're not going to examine it too much. We're just going to change the frequency of that and move that energy out of the body. Release. So what I want you to do is get into your body, grounding, centering, expanding, and we're going to use the breath to release. So when you breathe in, on the exhale, just think in your mind, release. And let it go. Release. Release. It's almost like you've called it out already. You said, I see you. I see you, erroneous belief. I see you, unhealthy attitude. I see you, mental script, and where you came from. You don't get to be here anymore. You have no power here. And just release it out of the body and release. The biggest part, the hardest part of releasing is creating awareness of what you put there and why you put it there. Okay. And just keep breathing and release. Release. And just keep saying, you can actually move to verbalizing that out loud and say the word release. Release. Release until you feel like it's completely been shed from the body. Release. 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 Okay. You guys notice that it's gone? You guys are being really quiet today. So let me know if you feel like you released or if you need a little bit more help with that. We can go into another tool if you'd like. Let's see. I'm just looking at if there's any other things that we could do to help you to continue to release. You know, one of the favorite things that I do when I'm releasing, and if there's just a little bit left and I come back to it, is stretches. So stretching the body. If it's in the shoulders, roll your shoulders up, back, and around. Stretch out the face. Nice and big, stretching the jaw, the muscles in the face, and the upper part of the forehead. And just stretch that out. Okay, so it looks like my client is here for the morning, so I'm going to let you guys go. Keep stretching, keep expanding, keep breathing, keep releasing, holding that attention down deep inside of the body. And then please post your questions and comments inside of the group if you guys have more questions on releasing these issues of why you hold on to weight. As you let go of these issues, your body will release the weight. I promise you that it will. And you've got to trust that your body will do that. Okay, love you guys. Have a great rest of your morning. And I look forward to questions and comments. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye.